back. It reminded me of the last game that I did for the Blue Raiders when we drove to Troy, and then they had problems with the post-game video, and then we had to drop the coach's show video off at 840 underpass, and that was at 3 o'clock in the morning. So,
and that was a win too, I believe. Was that a win? We didn't have many wins at Troy.
I don't know that it was a win. I just know it was a loss in the travel.
You come from a football background.
I do.
Your dad's coach?
He was. Yeah, he coached at a couple of different places. He played at OU, and then he was a GA there for a little bit, for a year. Then he had I take it back. He played and then had an opportunity to go to West Point because he was in ROTC, and so he went to do his 2-year stint in active duty at that point. Of course, things were so much different in the 50s than they are today, as far as military requirements and all those things. But he coached he worked for Red Blake. He was telling me a story about Doc Blanchard the other day.
The Colonel.
Yes, and his experience with him there. Then he came back and went work at East Central University in Ada, Oklahoma, where he was an assistant from 59 to 72, and then from 72 to 89, he was the head coach. So, yeah, I grew up in the locker room.
So your football background, did that include playing football, high school, college, whatever?
Well, I was on the team. I was in high school, I was the backup quarterback. When you're 5'5.5" and weigh 135 pounds, you're not that attractive physically. But we won the state championship that year when I was a senior. And had the opportunity during the time that I was in college to help with the junior high team for 2 years, and then I helped with the high school team for 2 years. So got to see both sides of it at the high school I worked at. I went to.
So coaching was just in your blood, so to speak.
I just thought that was always what I was going to do. I never thought about doing anything else, and had some really cool experiences for the time that I coached in college. First year I was at the junior college in Oklahoma. I spent 1 year at Henderson State University and then left and went to Northeast Oklahoma Junior College. And the first year I was there, we played in the national championship game. Got beat by Coffeyville. Got beat by Coffeyville. Butler Community College. Went to the national championship game was in Arkansas City, Kansas. Something to do with the pig business because there was a big pork factory there. I can't remember the name. And then I spent 3 years there. We went to bowl games all 3 years. Coach, had an opportunity to be around some really good players. Well, Scott Case, who played in the NFL, Ernest Givens, that played in the NFL, two that I can think of, and then a number of Division I players. And then I spent 2 years at the University of Tennessee as a graduate assistant. We went to Sun Bowl the first year, and then very fortunate to be a part of the Sugar Vols that won the SEC championship in '85, and then beat Miami in the Sugar Bowl that year.
So who were your coaches?
Doug Matthews brought me there. Of course, Doug grew up in Northeast Oklahoma, and then also went to Northeast Oklahoma Junior College before we went to Vanderbilt. And then I was David Cutlass' graduate assistant for the 2 years I was there, helping him with the tight ends. David is one of the finest people that I've ever been around. And I did some work for, Walt Harris was there, Philip Fulmer, Kippy Brown.
So who was your head coach at Tennessee?
Coach Majors was the head coach.
That's what I was
thinking.
thinking.
And then Philip was the offensive line coach.
Right.
Ken Donahue was the defensive coordinator. Larry Marmee the first year was the defensive coordinator, and then Ken Donahue came from Alabama the next year, which was got to know Coach Donahue a little bit, and It was funny, Dick. That fall, we were sitting there, and early on in the year, and on Thursday night, I'd go in and start breaking down film for the next week. Well, Coach Donahue's reputation is he's the first one in, the last one out. So those first couple of weeks, it's Thursday evening, and he's ready to go home, and I'm in there breaking down film. He'd stick his head in there and look at me and then go on. And finally, about the third week, he walked in and goes, "What are you doing in here?" I said, "Coach, I'm breaking down film for next week's opponent." He goes, "Oh, I thought you were still watching film on this week's opponent." So, he didn't want anybody out working him.
So he was a treasure, really. He
was a great guy. I had some interesting experiences with him. One thing that I tell a little story. We beat Vanderbilt to win the SEC championship, and had a Christmas break. I was flying back to Oklahoma for Christmas, and walked in the airport, and there's Coach Donahue. Well, he's talking to some fans and stuff, and we get on the airplane, and I sit in the window seat, and he sits in the aisle, and we're visiting a little bit. And as soon as the plane takes off and you can put your tray tables down, he grabbed that old briefcase, flopped out his legal pad, and he went to work. Now, I'm over there reading the book. Next thing I know, he punches me in the arm. He goes, "Block this." So we use the same pass protections that Miami did. So I block it. He crossed it out. And from there to Memphis, where I was connected and he was going, I blocked, and I'd ask him who was coming, and he'd tell me. I said, "Can't block that." He'd circle it, and he'd mark the ones off we blocked. I never thought another thing about it. And we're standing there in the game, and I walk, we're through on offense, and I'm standing there watching the game on defense, and here comes those blitzes. And I'm going, those are the ones he was drawing up on the paper. So
a little head of the game.
He was. Some of the things that I see in ball games that are going on today, and the complicated stunts and blitzes that they're running, were some of the things he was already doing. So, there's not any new ideas, Dick, in football. They just kind of change some things up with formations and call it different. They're running the run-pass option to something different. But
they call it an RPO now on TV. Huh?
Which is another form of the veer. They're not blocking people, and they're, reading the guy to see if it's going to run. Instead of going out and pitching it, they're throwing the ball. So it's the evolution of that part of the game.
And the terminology has evolved with that over the time.
I mean, we always said, he made a first down. Now it's line to gain. It's like, what is that all about? The guy made the first down. Line to gain.
So were you always basically involved on the defensive side?
Well, I came to middle after my time in Knoxville. And I coached the running backs the first 3 years. Was fortunate to coach, Gerald Anderson, Joe Campbell, Tony Burst, Dwight Stone.
Had a pretty good group, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Wade Johnson, had some really good players. And then when Andy McCollum left to go to UTEP, Coach Donnelly offered me the opportunity to go over and coach the secondary, which I did the last 5 years that I was there. So
I'm interested your impressions of your first meeting with Coach Donnelly when you came down here. Can you remember that?
It was interesting. I was having a hard time finding a job, and my time was running out because the NCAA rules at that point, graduate assistants, which is what I was at Tennessee, could only stay 2 years. So we're coming up on the time that I got to go. And I'm not sure whether I'm going back to Oklahoma to get in a tractor and start plowing till I can find a job or, what I'm going to do. And Doug had talked to Coach Donnelly. And I drove down there one day. And we sat in the office. And it was kind of uneventful. He asked me some few questions. He introduced me some guys. I didn't spend that much time with him. But I spent some time with Ed Bunio and Tom Fiveash. And Dennis Thorell was here at that time, and he'd been in Knoxville 1 year, the first year I was there. And it was, a pretty simple conversation.
So did you get an offer after that?
Not that day. In fact, after I'd been at Middle for a while, I kind of understood the way Coach Donnelly did things. But I interviewed, never heard back immediately. And one day I walked in and said, Doug, I don't know what I'm going to do. And Doug and I had gotten to be really good friends.
It's Doug Matthews.
Doug Matthews. And he called Coach Donnelly back, and I didn't talk to Coach Donnelly again. I just walked in, and Doug said, okay, get ready to go. So I didn't have a car. So there was a guy from Oklahoma that I'd helped get to Tennessee, as a GA. He played for my dad. We loaded my stuff up in the pickup, drove it to Murfreesboro, and moved it in the dorm because I didn't have much but clothes anyway.
You were single at the time.
Very. And moved into the dorm. And then, got a dealer car at that point.
Did anybody tell you officially that you had a job?
Not really. Doug did. Got a job. I think I called down here and talked to Coach Five Ash, talked to Tommy, and then moved into the dorm till I could find, went through spring practice. I've been there about 3 days and practice started. I didn't have any idea what I was doing.
Did you have an assignment?
I was coaching the running backs.
Yep.
I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I barely knew what the first two plays were. Of course, then I'm trying to coach stuff. I'd built the practice schedule in 2 years, so I'm a little lost at what I'm doing and really doesn't look like I know what I'm doing. So we had some interesting conversations after practice into the evening. Coach Donnelly thought that he enjoyed working in the evenings and, into the night. So I got coached up pretty quick.
All right, we're going to have to take our first break, but we'll be back. Preston O'Neill, former Blue Raider football coach and resident analyst for WGNS, is my guest today. And we'll be back. All Sports Talk will continue right after this on WGNS.
Jennings & Ayers Funeral Home has served Murfreesboro families with compassion and care since 1880. As a family-owned funeral home, we're committed to honoring every life with dignity through traditional services, cremation options, and pre-planning that gives you peace of mind. For over 140 years, we've been here when it matters most. Visit JenningsandAyers.com. Jennings & Ayers Funeral Home, honoring life and comforting families since 1880.
Sign-ups are going on right now for First Shot's Winter Basketball League in Rutherford County. Coach Andy Herzer guides kids to sharpen basketball skills and build teamwork through exciting clinics and games. Since 2003, First Shot has empowered youth to grow in mind, spirit, and body. Don't miss out. Join the fun and develop lifelong skills. Visit FirstShotTN.org today and register for the Winter Basketball League. That's FirstShotTN.org.
Whether you need general vehicle upkeep and maintenance or a complete vehicle overhaul, Hall's Auto Care is here for you. We're locally owned and operated by Greg Hall and have been in business since 2014. You'll get excellent service and trustworthy advice with Hall's Auto Care. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. We're ready to help get you safely on the road. Hall's Auto Care, 907 Ridgely Road, just off Broad Street behind Chili's. Online at hallsautocare.net. Hall's Auto Care.
In Rutherford County, you know how much it means to have neighbors you can count on. I'm State Farm Agent Andy Wommel, here to help life go right when you combine home and auto insurance. Call me today at 615-890-0850 and let me save you money and time. Your home, your auto, together they're where life happens. I'm State Farm Agent Andy Wommel. It's smart to protect them together to help life go right. Give me a call at 615-890-0850 and let me help you save by combining your home and auto.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
Clark's Auction Company will get you top dollar for your property.
Auctions are easy, fast, and profitable.
I've always been a big fan of auctions. Get instant sale, no contingencies.
That means the sale of your property won't depend on an inspection, financing, or appraisals.
I've known the guys over there my entire life.
Call Parks Auction and Realty or visit parksauction.com.
Clark's Auction Company will get you top dollar for your property.
Clark's Auction Company, committed to auction excellence.
Sold it to you, 27.5.
Good afternoon. Heavier traffic volume in the last few minutes here on 40 eastbound. It's Spence Lane, all that traffic making its way out past B&A Airport through the Donaldson area, pushing on out into Wilson County. 65 south just now starting to slow down a little bit at times, coming past Harding Place as you continue down into Brentwood, Franklin, down through Williamson County. We have seen radar a little bit earlier down in the Spring Hill area. Hey, when you need dependable towing for a car and truck, STR Towing and Recovery. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
It's all sports talk from the Good Neighbor Network, FM 1019, 100.5, AM 1450, WGNSradio.com, and Big G TV.
Welcome back into All Sports Talk. Preston O'Neill is my guest. Normally you're on here with Monty, and you and Monty have had some interesting conversations over the past, and you guys have been picking games for a long time.
I wish you had brought that up. We have.
Do you guys keep a score on that, or?
Yeah, I mean every year it's a contest. I am 2 of 30. It took me 26 years to win one season, and then I won back to back. Made him mad, and he's hammered me from that point on. I think that he's up 6 games right now. We talked yesterday. Obviously, Monty's out for a little bit, right, and hopefully he and I will do the last show of the season next week. And then we made the picks, and I won't divulge that until the show, but I can just say that I picked the underdog in both games. Okay. Need some help.
All right. Tune in on Fridays if you want to know more of this story. But let's go back to your early days at Middle Tennessee with Coach Donnelly. And when did you realize what type of coach he wanted you to be?
He was really good to me the entire time that I was there. Not to say that, as his reputation goes, he's not demanding and sometimes difficult to work for. But he was always really good to me. And the first year I was there, they just come off the undefeated season, got beat by Georgia Southern in the first round. And we weren't very good. So he put me on the road about halfway through the season. He told me to go go work the junior colleges and find some people that I wished I could share how he described. I'll put this very kindly.
This is a family show now.
Yes, I said, Coach, what am I looking for? Am I looking for linebackers? I'm looking for quarterback. Where do you want me to emphasize stuff? He goes, Preston, I want you to find guys that'll scratch their rear end and bite their fingernails and won't go to jail. I said, okay.
He wanted tough players.
He wanted tough players. And he goes, you go find a good player at any position and, basically if they can help us, get them in. So I went on the road and stayed out from I'm thinking almost the middle of October till, after signing date, traveling Mississippi, Kansas, Texas, Northeast Oklahoma, and going to recruit junior college guys.
I've heard some coaches say that they really enjoyed the recruiting end of it. I've heard others say that they hated it. They just wanted to be on campus and coach. What were your feelings about your duties there?
Well, I enjoyed the recruiting process up until the end. It was, I really enjoyed getting out. You got to meet other coaches. You spend some time with the head coaches and the assistant coaches at a junior college or a high school. And you got to meet some really interesting people. And then if you were fortunate enough to sign a really good player, that stroked your ego and made you feel really well. And then there's always those guys that are contributing, but, aren't statistically one of the top players.
Right.
And those are the guys that really make your team up. You've got a great player, Don Griffin, James Griffin, Marvin Collier, Phil Ironside, those guys that lead your team, run the dorm, and getting the publicity. And then you've got those guys that are just grinders,
The worker bees.
The worker bees, the offensive linemen, the defensive linemen. Those guys that are doing really difficult jobs and not getting a lot of credit for it, So you find those kind of guys and they're, for the most part, very humble and unselfish, and there's just a wide variety of people that you deal with, and I always thought that was very interesting.
What was this is probably a hard question. What was your most satisfying recruit? Is there anyone who stands out over another, somebody that maybe you thought, well, I'm not going to get this guy because he's too good, or somebody who maybe wasn't that well known, but you thought he could be good, and he turned out to be good? So,
well, I got to tell you two examples.
Okay.
I'm sitting at the, at the junior college. We watched a ton of film, and we'd get calls from coaches about, people that they thought was a player, but nobody recruited them. So I was sitting there one day, and I'm watching some film from a high school in St. Petersburg, Florida. And they run a wishbone, and they've got a wideout. So you got to watch a lot of film to see any plays. And it was, this guy was the son of a Major League Baseball player. If you watched enough games, you could see a few plays of some things that he could do, but I don't think that he played but his junior and senior year. So I go into the head coach and say, hey, coach, I like this guy. And he wasn't going to watch 10 games of film. So he watched a few plays. He goes, I tell you what, I said, Coach, they say he run 4.3. And we'd recruited kids from this high school, and the high school coach had a great reputation. So he says, you tell him he can come up. If he runs 4.3 when he gets here, we'll give him a full scholarship.
So you have put yourself on the line there.
Yeah. So, I call the family. The dad laughs. They drive straight through from St. Petersburg, get to Miami, Oklahoma. He gets out of the back seat of the car, puts his shorts on, and runs 4.3 something. And I showed Glenn Wolf, the head coach, I showed him that stopwatch. He goes, make him do it again. I said, okay, go run again. And clocked it again, 4.3 something. He said, good to go. Well, it was Ernest Givens, who played for us for 2 years, went to Louisville and played, and then had a long career with the Houston Oilers. So, that was once in a lifetime experience where we, found somebody that didn't, and there were a number of those guys.
And nobody was really watching him as a wide receiver because they didn't run, they didn't throw the ball.
And he hadn't played much.
Oh.
So, it was just a shot in the dark that worked out. And then there was a fullback at Crenshaw, you may remember him, that was at Northwest. This is kind of funny. at Northwest Community College in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm down there recruiting, and it's come down to UTEP, where Andy was, and us. So I'm talking to the grandmother who's running the show, and she goes, "Well, they're going to do these things for him at UTEP, and this, da, da, da." And I said, this probably clearly wasn't a good moral decision. It might have been a little below the waist. I said, I've been to El Paso, which I had. We played at the Sun Bowl. It's a beautiful city, and I couldn't say anything bad about it. But, you go right across the Red River, and Juarez is over there. That's not a really good place. So he ended up coming to us. So on one signing date, I'm sitting back there, maybe the day after, here comes Coach Dolly around the corner of my office and goes, "I just got a call from UTEP, and they say that we're hitting below the belt." I said, "Coach, here's what I did." He just looked at me, turned around, and walked off. And said another word. So, okay, that worked out. And recruiting's a dirty business, and you try to, it's a dirty, nasty time when everybody's, there's some people that do things the right way, and there's some people that go to any means, to get that player. Now, that might have been out of line on my part, but it's a tough business, and when you're working at middle and you're trying to compete against mid majors, it's hard to do. I'd go in and root the Division I guys and say, "Hey, we're here. Doesn't work out for you."
They know your reputation when you come in.
Yeah.
They don't know anything about middle.
No. I'd flop down to USA Today, especially those times we were good.
Yeah.
After in 89, 90, 91, and 92, you go in there with the USA Today and I'd circle them. I said, "Here's the teams across the country won 10 games.
Yeah.
Here's the teams across the country won 11. There's 6 of us. So we're one of those 6 teams." And they kind of look at me like I'm crazy.
And here's our players that are in the NFL.
Yeah. So, you sit down with, I sat down with a number of guys that played at Division I schools. And just say, "Hey, look, here we are. I understand you're going to go to wherever. Doesn't work out, give me a call and be more than happy to talk to you."
And you get some of those.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, every now and then. Got a few calls on some of those guys. So, everybody's a prospect. You never know how it's going to work. I mean, in today's environment, look at the NIL. Those guys are moving around left and right. I think there's over 2,000 players that have gotten into the portal. And not all those guys, the largest majority of those guys aren't going to have a place to go. And, then they'll be sitting out there with nothing. Or not near as much. I mean, you take the quarterback from Tennessee last year. He takes a 50% cut in pay to go to UCLA. Okay.
So is the recruiting process now, is that done through electronic means, or are there still home visits and
they're
film study and that sort of thing?
Well, the structure is so different.
Yeah.
When I was at Knoxville, Bill Higdon was the recruiting coordinator. He didn't coach a position, and he didn't travel. He was in his office. He did that work. In the last 3 or 4 or 5 years I was at Middle, I was a recruiting coordinator. So I'm coaching a position and trying to coordinate recruiting. Before I'm going back out, I'm setting all the stuff up for the coming week on where we're going to eat, hotel, all that stuff. Today, Middle has a general manager. Everybody has analysts. Those analysts, I think, if I understand this right, some of those are doing recruiting. Some of those are doing game planning and contributing to, what's going on with the team. So there's so many people on the staff today that
it just boggles your mind.
Yeah, it boggles the mind. I've been really interested in the Ole Miss situation, where their coaches going back and forth. And, the conversation is, hey, look, we got a lot of good coaches here. They've got analysts with a lot of experience. We're not missing anything by those guys not being here. So, when all that's taking place, I thought, man, what a chaotic situation, trying to figure out who's working with one position. But they've got assistant offensive line coaches. They've got assistant receiver coaches. They got two guys coaching one position. So when one guy leaves, the other guy's already doing that work. So I kind of have been amazed at how that all come together.
How would Preston O'Neill fit into today's recruiting process?
Boy, I don't know that I even want any part of it. Again, there's so much difference in how things work in the time that I was here at the 1AA level as opposed to the 1A. We wouldn't even get really serious about recruiting until the season was over. Now, we go out in May, we identify a few guys. Those guys that, were juniors, getting ready to be seniors. Most of the guys you identify, you knew were going to be Division I players, because some of the guys you might be recruiting, you didn't have a lot of film on. So,
okay, we're going to have to break.
No problem.
Our final break, and we'll be back with Preston O'Neill as All Sports Talk continues on WGNS.
When illness or injury turns everyday moments into uphill battles, there are medical professionals who step in with skill, compassion, and unwavering dedication. My name is Joey P. I'm CEO of Murfreesboro Medical Clinic, and we are proud to highlight this month's MMC Heart for Healing recipient.
A grateful patient wrote about a 3-week stay at Ascension St. Thomas Rutherford Hospital. When they were finally allowed to shower, nurse Michaela Easterwood went above and beyond, washing and styling their hair with such care that Mom had one less worry. Even when she wasn't assigned to them, Michaela used her own breaks to stop by, check in, and bring comfort. Her kindness restored dignity and hope. That's why Michaela Easterwood is our Heart for Healing.
If a doctor, nurse, or other medical professional has made a difference in your life, tell your good neighbor station, WGNS. Nominate them for the MMC Heart for Healing Award and help us recognize the medical heroes in our community. Compassion deserves recognition, and healing begins with the heart.
Make a bold statement with custom banners and signs from Franklin's Printworks.
We've got a lot of capabilities as far as the material that you can use, either vinyl or paper or foam board or even aluminum or acrylic.
Jeff Carlton at Franklin's Printworks says they can help design eye-catching, standout banners and signs.
We can walk you right through it and pull it all together for you. Our customers sometimes don't even know what they need to know. That's why it's helpful to sit down with a real person rather than depending on something on the internet.
Franklin's Printworks.
With over 80 years of service under our belt at Roscoe Brown, we can help ensure your home's HVAC unit keeps you warm and that your pipes don't burst. Through preventative checkups and repairs, we provide our customers with a worry-free winter. I guess you could say we've weathered a few winter wonderlands over the years. Turn to the experts. Turn to Roscoe Brown.
Roscoe Brown.
RoscoeBrown.com. Next on All Sports Talk, it's the Blue Raider Insider Report with Chip Walters of Exit Realty, Bob Lamb & Associates.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome into our report today. Don't forget, coming up at 6 o'clock tonight, it's Rick Insel Live. We'll have that weekly recap of women's basketball. Then at 7 o'clock, Nick McDevitt Live, and we'll recap men's basketball for an hour and look ahead at what is going on. And you can hear both shows right here on WGNS. All right, news out of Conference USA. After a breakout week off the bench, freshman guard Yuhan Lin has been named the Conference USA Women's Basketball Freshman of the Week. This honor marks the first weekly award of Lin's career and makes her the third different Blue Raider to earn Freshman of the Week honors this year, joining Blair Bogus, who has won the award 5 times, and Macy Pfeiffer, who has won it once, giving Middle Tennessee 7 total Freshman of the Week awards during the 25-26 season. Lynn played a key role in guiding the Blue Raiders to a most dominant 2-0 week in Conference USA play, highlighted by an 86-43 win over UTEP and an 88-51 win over New Mexico State. She opened the week with a team-high 18 points in just 15 minutes off the bench against the Miners, shooting 7 of 12 from the field, including 2 of 3 beyond the arc. She followed that up with another efficient outing against the Aggies of New Mexico State, tallying 15 points and 19 minutes off the bench. She added 2 assists and 2 steals while shooting 6 of 9 from the field and a perfect 2 of 2 from three-point range. Looking at the standings on the women's side in Conference USA, Middle at 4-0 leads the pack. Sam Houston and Missouri State are at 3-0. Louisiana Tech is 2-1. Lady Raiders will travel there on Thursday. Liberty, Jack State, and New Mexico State are all 2-2. FIU is 1-2. UTEP and Kennesaw State and Western Kentucky are all 1-3, while Delaware is 0-4 in Conference USA. The Blue Raider men erased an early 16-point deficit and held on late to defeat New Mexico State Saturday night in Las Cruces, 59-55, holding New Mexico State to their lowest point total and lowest field goal percentage of the season. The Blue Raiders struggled out of the gate, falling behind 20-4 in the opening 9 minutes before responding with a decisive 20-4 run of their own to pull even at 24-all. Tori Alston led the surge with 5 points, while Kamari Lands and Javin Carter each added 4 as Middle Tennessee clawed back into the contest. The teams traded baskets down the stretch of the first half and headed into the locker room knotted at 29. Middle carried the momentum of the second half, building as much as a 13-point lead with 10 minutes to go thanks to very strong defensive stands and aggressive offense. But New Mexico State refused to fade away at home, chipping away to cut the deficit to 1 possession late. The Blue Raiders sealed the win at the free throw line with timely defensive stops down the stretch to split the road trip out west, dropping a 3-point overtime decision at New Mexico State. In the men's side, the standings look like this. Liberty at 5-0, just a game back. Middle Tennessee at 4-1. Missouri State at 4-1. Missouri State, by the way, will be here on Saturday. Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State, Kennesaw, Western Kentucky and Jack State at 3-2. Kennesaw, New Mexico State, FIU, and Louisiana Tech are all 2-3. Sam Houston 1-4, while UTEP is 1-4, as well as Delaware. Blue Raiders travel to Ruston, Louisiana to take on Louisiana Tech on Wednesday night, and you can hear it right here on the Blue Raider Network. That's our report today. We'll have another update tomorrow from Ruston as you listen to the Big G, WGNS. Good afternoon, everybody.
It's all sports talk from the Good Neighbor Network, FM 1019, 100.5, AM 1450, wgnsradio.com, and Big G TV.
Listening with Preston O'Neill, my guest today on All Sports Talk, and we were talking recruiting, I think, when we went to the break, and how different it is today than when you were coaching. I wanted to talk a little bit about your experience on the radio network, because we had some pretty interesting times together on that for 10 or 12 years, whatever it was, when you were. Had you ever done anything like that before?
You know, I hadn't. When I left Middle, when I left the coaching staff, I hadn't been gone very long, and there was a change. There was a change in who was doing the color with you.
Yeah.
And so I think either you or Chip approached me about doing it, and then either you and I and Chip sat down in the coach's lounge, turned some film on, and we started talking about the game. And it was like, you'll be okay. So I didn't know what I was doing. We do that first game against Tennessee State over in at Tennessee State in the hole.
Oh, my. I remember that.
Yeah. I walk in like 10 minutes before the broadcast. I didn't know y'all very well. Sit down, game's over with. I get up and leave. It's like, oh, this isn't how this works.
Piece of cake. Huh?
Piece of cake. It's like, you got to get here a little early for the pregame, and we got to do the postgame afterwards. I think the worst thing that happened is in the time that we did it was you left one game immediately at the end of it to go do a basketball game and told me to do the post-game show. I never had did the post-game show.
I don't even remember that.
You said, here, this is what you got to go over. Well, I've got 4 or 5 pieces of paper. I'm trying to stumble through that. I'm looking at, here's the question. Where do I find the answer? It's like, I'm not ever doing this again. You're doing that. I'm not doing this.
We had some good times in the old station wagon.
Traveling in the bus or the station wagon. We it started out in a rental van with, no headrest on it. You bounce it around. Terrible ride. Then Chip gets the golf van and we travel in. It's got video, you go to whatever that video store was, you buy I'd rent some videos and I'd watch movies go over there and back. So then then start flying.
The last part that we're going to play word association.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to give you a term or a word, and you just tell me the first thing that pops into your mind. And
can you bleep this?
This is a family show now.
Okay.
Remember that. Okay, let's start with Lane Kiffin.
Bad character. I have no respect for him and how he's done this.
NIL.
Ridiculous.
Transfer portal.
Rule change.
Bowl games.
Tradition.
Pavia.
Exciting.
College playoffs.
Exciting. Enjoyable.
Yeah. AI.
New era. Not understanding. I don't understand it.
Robert Earl.
My man.
I knew that was coming.
Robert Earl Keene and the Robert Earl Keene Band. We listened to lots of Robert Earl. I exposed y'all to my man.
Yes, you did.
5-pound bass.
Yes. The Red River.
Rivalry. Never been to the OU Texas game, and I'm going this October.
Are you really?
I already got my uncle. I asked him about tickets. He goes, I've got 2 you can have. And I went, okay. Wow. So I'm going to get to go for the first time.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
I'm excited about going.
Talking about tradition, and I still remember our trip to Texas A&M.
I was just thinking that.
And I would love to see a big game at Texas A&M.
Yes.
Because we went out there. We're 1AA. We're playing Texas A&M, big time school, still in the Southwest Conference, I think.
Southeast Conference.
Were they in the Southeast when we played them?
No, they were still in the Southwest.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Anyway, it's not a big game for them, It's a money game for us. And that was the best atmosphere in football that I have ever seen.
Hey, at that point, I didn't have any pregame responsibilities. So that year, I'd go down and stand on the field till both teams left, and then I'd go to the booth. And I'm standing there watching middle warm up, and all of a sudden, the 12th man comes marching in from, I think it was the south end zone before they'd filled it in. And I thought, how do people warm up with this going on? This is unbelievable.
And then the band comes on.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, that whole thing, and I'm standing opposite the end zone watching it take place. As you recall, there wasn't, the booth was, and the fans, the last row of the fans were right there behind us.
Right there.
Right there.
Yeah, they could hear what we were saying.
We're having conversations with them during the break. It was great.
And I never forget at halftime what happened.
I knew that was coming up. You're interviewing Lee Fowler, and the booth is tiny. And I step out, and I'm standing on the stairs right there on the back row. And the next thing I know, they're singing "Saw the Old Horns Off Old Rusty," and I've got them. They've grabbed me side to side, and I'm swaying back and forth. And you and Lee are looking down at the booth at me, just laughing. as hard as you can. It was a great experience.
That was one of the images that I'll never forget.
Me either. I tell that story occasionally.
Okay, players, the Griffins.
I didn't coach either one of them. This past summer at the Blue Raider football reunion, I had an opportunity to really sit down and talk to Don about his career, both at middle and at in the NFL.
Right.
And really a humble, nice, really good individual. And really enjoyed getting to know him a little better than I had in the past. So,
Marty Carter.
Marty Carter. Man, do I love Marty Carter. Marty Carter's an interesting character. One of the best players I ever coached. His instincts of, I'm standing there talking to him one day, and we're talking about what he's looking at. I said, well, we're talking about how to determine run to pass. He goes, Coach, I just feel the energy coming from the offensive line when they're running the ball. Man, that doesn't happen with many people. And after he left, tried to talk to people that could, and nobody else could do that.
There are players that you really don't have to coach.
No, well, you got to keep them in line.
Yeah.
They kid me about, yeah, Coach, you come out there, then we do what we wanted to do.
And Coach Donnelly didn't particularly like it when he came out with no socks.
Yeah, we'll go to spring practice one day, and we're walking off the field, and Coach Donnelly's in my ear about Marty Carter hadn't got any socks on. What's wrong with him, Preston? Why are you letting him practice on? Marty Carter hadn't got. And I said, okay. So I go, Marty, where's your socks? Because I got on socks. He had on short socks, tucked below his high tops. I said, wear the issued socks. This is not necessary. This is an unnecessary conversation for me to get chewed out. Put on your socks.
Oh, we're just about out of time. I wish we could talk a little further because we could go another.
Oh, we talk about this for days.
Yeah, we didn't get into a few things I wanted to mention, but we covered all the highlights. I think that you'll be back with Marty on Friday. I think.
Hopefully, we're going to get the show in next week, and he'll be back on there. It's what we talked about yesterday or the day before. On Friday, he and I.
My guest has been Preston O'Neill, and join him and Monty on Friday. And we'll be back next Monday with more All Sports Talk.
Hi, I'm Wade Hayes, owner of Toots Good Food and Fun. I strongly believe that volunteers make a positive difference in the quality of life here in our community.
Rutherford County's Chief of Staff, Eric Hennessy, has a history of helping those in need. He's been honored with awards recognizing his pro bono legal assistance to those in need. In addition, his involvement in mission trips, service on both Main Street as well as the Discovery Center's boards, demonstrates a pattern of volunteer service to this community. Thank you, Eric Hennessy.
At Toots, we strongly believe that it's important for every one of our citizens to give some of their time and talent back into the community. And we want to honor these individuals with a Toots gift certificate good at any of our Rutherford County locations. 860 Northwest Broad Street, on Church Street in the Barfield area, in Smyrna on Sam Ridley, and Toots West on Franklin Road at Rucker Lane.
Hi, this is Amanda from Animal City, inviting you to come do business with our family. We are delighted to have just celebrated our 35th anniversary, and that is all thanks to you, our wonderful customers. We are pet lovers too, and we personally select every treat and toy, ensuring it's the same quality that we give our own pets. Stop by Animal City and get the best quality pet gear in town. Animal City is at 919 Northwest Broad Street in Murfreesboro.
Hi, this is Wade Hayes of Toots Restaurants, and our family would like to thank this community for supporting Toots for 40 years.
Head over to Toots.com for our daily specials, our menu, and all of our locations. Check out our Kids Club for some extra deals. Thank you to our patrons and customers.
Thank you for dining with us since 1985.
Thank you, Rutherford County.
Thank you for dining with us for 40 years.
Toots,
the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Isaac Lowenkron.
Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott announced this afternoon that receiver Gabe Davis tore his ACL in yesterday's win at Jacksonville. Bills defensive tackle Ed Oliver will be designated for return from injured reserve this week. The Atlanta Falcons announced that they've interviewed former Baltimore Ravens head coach John Harbaugh for their head coaching job. It was Harbaugh's first interview since being fired by the Ravens last Tuesday. Green Bay Packers linebacker Micah Parsons gave head coach Matt LaFleur a vote of confidence today. Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts, however, was non-committal about offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo. Former Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel is interviewing today with the Cleveland Browns and Atlanta Falcons for their head coaching jobs. The NBA today fined Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics $35,000 for public criticism of the officiating. In the NHL, the Columbus Blue Jackets today fired head coach Dean Evison.
Holden Hardware has been serving the hardware needs of this community since 1948. This is Raleigh Holden Jr. I want to thank our many customers who have helped to keep us in business all these years. I also want to invite those who may be new to this community or have not been in the store lately to visit us. Come experience a unique hardware buying atmosphere with wood floors, old furniture and fixtures, along with a helpful and knowledgeable sales staff. Holden Hardware on the west side of the public square since 1948.
Hi, this is Jenny at Ryan Flowers Coffee and Gifts. Are you in need of a gift but not sure what to get? Ryan Flowers is here for you. We have a variety of items in our shop, but you can also create a personalized gift as well. From personalized mugs, personalized t-shirts, as well as personalized ribbon with a saying or a photo that you would like to have on. And I've also started personalized bears. Ryan Flowers Coffee and Gifts, 117 South Academy, just a couple blocks off the square.
Hi, this is Dan with Music World and Drummer's Den. Our prices are as good or better than the box stores. I don't think you'll do better by shopping online than you would by coming in. If you're into podcasting, we have starter kits that have everything you need to get started. The interface for your computer, microphone, headphones, you'll be online in no time. If you need a PA, you need lights, we've got all for rent. Music World and Drummer's Den, 2762 South Church Street, right across from the golf course.
This is a TVA Minute. The Tennessee Valley Authority began 2026 by naming its Engineer of the Year. At a ceremony in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Jonathan Sides received the Engineer of the Year award, celebrating his work on the transmission team to improve reliability across the grid. Sides is just one of TVA's engineers who works every day to make life better for the people of the region. TVA President and CEO Don Ma.
For more than 90 years, TVA engineers have designed and built a diverse power generation system and a complex river management and dam system that prevents flooding in communities all along the Tennessee River system, while also providing hydropower.
Engineering jobs at TVA are posted at tva.com/careers, and more information on STEM education opportunities can be found at tva.com/learn. That's a TVA Minute. I'm Adam May.
Starting the year with a financial reset can help you build momentum and confidence. I'm Stephen Cates with the Bankrate Personal Finance.
This has been All Sports Talk on WGNS and Big G TV, where we hit every level of the game, from the preps to MTSU, across Tennessee and the nation. Thanks for tuning in to All Sports Talk from the Good Neighbor Network.